Furry microphone whiteboard man here to tell you about 3 movies playing out at the exact same time. And amazing, I seem to remember certain posts on the internet years ago telling us about this exact concept. How different exposures of the deep state would all be happening sort of at once. Almost like a pincer move to surround them from all sides at a narrative standpoint. And we've been preparing for this for many years. Those of us in the know, us anons, us internet truth sleuths. Now we've seen the evidence mount. We've been digging into these subjects, prepping ourselves from awareness standpoint. Now we're seeing these subjects come out at a mainstream level from Trump administration 2.0, declassifications, data dumps from official sources. And now it is up to us to continue furthering the work in helping to awaken the normies, since we have official documents to point to. It's not just us being crazy conspiracy theorists anymore, connecting red string dots from different sources on the internet. We can point to official places to say, here, you called me crazy for years, but it's legit. Now, the 3 movies playing out with a new scene in each one, I guess you could say, a new act. Over the last 48 to 72 hours, we have had furtherances of each of these 3 movies. We're talking about 2020 election fraud exposure. We're talking about RussiaGate, Spygate, Russia collusion, trying to set up Trump for, before the 2016 election and a little bit after, for the whole Russia bullshit. And then Epstein file data dump, the 3.5 million pages uploaded to the justice.gov searchable database, and a lot in that one that we'll get to. So before we get to discussing a little bit of the data about what's happened over the last couple of days with each of these 3 movies, let's just remember that back in July, we had John Solomon from Just the News, who is legit with legit sources, for reasons. We won't get into why John Solomon's legit, but he is pure signal amongst a lot of the noise out there. John Solomon was reporting back in July that FBI DOJ opened up a RICO grand jury investigation into, we could say, not necessarily the Democrats, because of course this high-level corruption is not just left right to, but the deep state. A grand conspiracy RICO investigation into the Democrat / deep state / all of them, into a variety of matters. Wrapped up in this grand jury RICO case is pretty much everything the freaking deep state's done over the last 10, 15 years. From Hillary Clinton's private email server that she was sending classified information over. They're claiming she was hacked. Nah, that bitch was selling it. To Hunter Biden's laptop, to rigging the 2020 election, to covering up Joe Biden's mental decline in the auto pen, to all kinds of other stuff, all wrapped up in this RICO case. So I think what we're seeing over the last couple days is stuff coming out sort of to prepare us for when this RICO case really starts going public in the form of big-time raids, indictments, et cetera, because also, mind you, and why I think that is coming sooner rather than later, and by soon, I mean initial stages of that justice we've been waiting for maybe 6 months to 9 to 12 months this year. I think 2026 will be a doozy. Not all of it, not all of that capital J justice, I think will be this year, but I think we'll get the initial stages of it finally, and then over the next couple of years, it'll just snowball and progress. But we've got 2 things. The whole 250th anniversary celebration that is picking up, July 4th this year. I think the plan by, when I say the Trump administration, I don't necessarily just mean like Trump, because you got to understand, Trump is just the face. He's just the placeholder. He's the symbol for whoever is in the military intelligence community, the government, like the white hats, if you will. I hate that term sometimes, but for simplification purposes, say white hats, right? Just how these deep state politicians are puppets themselves, black hat, dark side, galactic empire puppets for more powerful shadow people who don't want to have their names and faces public, right? Frankly, Obama, Hillary Clinton, they're like mid-level goons. Who are the real power players there? Trump is somewhat the same way, but for the Rebel Alliance, the light side of the force. So we say Trump, 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 which, yes, he is the one who chose to be in that position to be the public symbol, name, and face, but Trump is just the symbol for the team behind him. Anyway, I think their plan is in place to give us something to celebrate for that 250th America's anniversary celebration. That, the height of that is July. And then you've got midterms. So because we have midterms later this year, it's going to be very important to get enough election security solidified, enough policies in place whereby these midterms can be as honest as they can be, if you will. And then the final 2 years of Trump's tenure as president, we can have a friendly Congress, House, and Senate, and then there'll be much less ability for the deep state to fight back legislation-wise when all that capital J justice begins to pop off. So these are reasons why I think a lot of this will begin. I think we'll get the initial stages before those two things, and then midterms into next year, 2027 and 8, Trump's final 2 years, we will get a lot more of that justice, a lot more of those indictments and arrests, whatnot, right? So, not saying it'll all happen by the time Trump leaves office. This could be taking down these slave systems and building up new ones. That's going to take a freaking generation or two, if not longer. But we will get sort of what we've all been preparing for these years. So, in terms of 2020 election fraud, Tulsi. It was reported that Tulsi Gabbard declassified, I don't know if I'd use that word, but for brevity's sake here, declassified a document that basically proved that Obama spearheaded the RussiaGate collusion. He gave the green light to have those intelligence reports manufactured that were used as the justification to begin the spying campaign on Trump and his team pre-2016 election. So Tulsi's kind of a big, she's a big sort of shadow director of a lot of these 3 movies going on right now. But Tulsi declassified that. Jesse Waters ran a report on it, I think Thursday night on his show, talking about RussiaGate and Tulsi opening up more information about RussiaGate. Trump shared that to his True Social page. So we've got more stuff coming, not election fraud there, with the RussiaGate. 2020 election fraud. That arrow should have been there. Now, 2020 election fraud, we of course had GA, Georgia Election Office, raided by the FBI, and they were there for like 12 hours. What did that happen? Thursday morning, and they were taking all kinds of information. And then Georgia's Secretary of State, Raffensperger, Brad Raff, he's been ducking and dodging as many interviews and anything he can for a few weeks. I think Georgia's State Senate Ethics Committee, we're trying to get him to appear for some testimony in front of their committee, and he ducked and dodged and dodged that. And then he's also been, I think there was a Newsmax interview that he ducked as well. So it appears that Brad Raffensperger, he's been in some beef with the DOJ for a few weeks because he won't hand over election information. I wonder why. It appears that he knew some shit was coming. Maybe he knew the raid was coming at some point, or he knows he's effed. So we got a lot beginning to happen with the 2020 election fraud. Finally, Georgia, of course, was one of those ground zero states during 2020 with the election fraud there. You also have, Arizona, Pennsylvania. You got a few of these other states where there's a lot of nonsense, chicanery in, but Georgia was one of the worst. And it makes sense that would be the first state that would be targeted with exposing 2020 election fraud. And then we have the Epstein files. And this new data dump with 3.5 million pages is a freaking doozy. And from my understanding, that's not everything. And people were bitching and moaning, oh, the government was supposed to give us this weeks ago. Trump must be in on it. Like, fuck. I'm sure some of those narratives trying to rope Trump in as being like a pedo with Epstein are coming from shills and paid agents, controlled opposition. I think some people are just so doomed out by now, and they aren't looking at this from the big picture, 40,000-foot view that the doomers are sucking them in. But number one, Trump had Epstein arrested in the first fucking place. Basic shit to think about. If Trump was roiled up in it, why would he have Epstein arrested, Ghislaine arrested, Nexium sex cult busted, Backpage website busted, well, et cetera, right? We could go down the list. And then, so these new documents, 3.5 million's a lot. I'll give them some grace. They had teams of, I guess, hundreds of attorneys combing through these documents to redact witness names and possibly redact information regarding ongoing investigations. Asterisk, italics on that one. So yeah, I'll give them some grace that it took them a few extra weeks, but they put this out, searchable database on justice.gov, and what did this come out? Thursday, Friday? And here we are 2-3 days later, and there's, freaking every minute I'm seeing a new story come out. Citizen journalists and internet diggers are just combing through all this stuff, and it will take us some time to sift through as much as we can sift through all of it, and then it get reported on social media, and then it will take even further time for those reports to circulate around the hive mind that is social media, and then the, I guess, normies, if you will, to begin to soak it all in. So this is going to be a thing for weeks, if not longer than that. And then it'll also take us some time to assess each file, each email, because some of these are, there's a lot of misunderstanding of some of these emails, like the FBI reports that are in these Epstein files. Sometimes you can have schizophrenics call the FBI, and the FBI will follow up on it and make a report. But just because you see a statement that somebody made in an FBI report does not in any way mean it's credible. It could be completely non-credible. So there's some stuff that people are going to have to sort of discern very heavily. But there is a lot of weird shit coming out, for sure. A lot of weird shit in these new Epstein files. And that's big. That's real big. So, of course, there will be a contingent on the internet that tries to, rope Trump in and others into these Epstein files. Like I think I've seen a few fake AI emails alleging to be between Elon and Epstein and all that. So there'll definitely be some disinfo, some psyops ran with them, but just the fact they're out there, what a lot of people are waiting for, and we're learning a lot of weird shit, that's a biggie. So these 3 movies all playing out right now. The new Epstein file dumps, RussiaGate 2020 election fraud. And 2 more things I want to say about this. I think I touched on that public awareness point is very important. That is the step we need to get to. Really, that's what all of this is about, is that public awareness. In fact, I don't know if I touched about this here. That might have been the video I just recorded before this, and they're messing up in my mind. But that's the biggest step is the awareness. That is one reason it's taken a long time, is that, and also, the deep state didn't build Rome in a day. It took them decades, if not centuries. So it is going to take us some time to comb through. It's going to take those government investigators, military intelligence individuals time to comb through all their stuff and, investigate it. But this is another huge step, if not the most important one, is public awareness. We tend to live in our own little echo chambers, especially researching this information because we're researching it on the internet. And on the internet, we live in our echo chambers. So, sure, it might seem to you like, oh, everybody wants justice. Why isn't Trump doing anything about it? Well, that's just because all the people who follow you and that you follow are calling for it. But we've got how many people in this country? 150 million? More than that aren't addicted to their phones like we are. So we need to get this to them somehow, and that takes a lot of time and a lot of repetition and a lot of showing them. And some people just don't want to get it. It's very tough to get them to care. A lot of apathetic fluoride brains in society. So this point is one reason why it's taken so long, but it's also the point that we need to focus on, because the more that we can get the public aware and understanding, the sooner we can get that capital J justice we want, right? We don't need to get them to support the arrests of Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Obama, John Brennan, whoever the heck. We need to get them to just at least accept it. I don't care if they love it. We can't have them hate it and go out there and write and protest, right? So they just need to, like, oh, some Georgia Secretary of State got arrested for election fraud. Oh, I can understand that, right? All right. Phones off. They go back to playing their video games or watching their football, whatever the heck. So the awareness to a point where they at least accept it when that justice starts happening. They don't have to support it. They just have to accept the fact it's happening. And then I guess I was going to talk about the normies' reaction, but I just kind of covered it right there. But that doomerism. That doomerism. Well, one thing about normies' reaction here is, with the Epstein files at least, these two, like, they'll be fine. They'll get it. We've been talking about Russia collusion and 2020 election fraud for so long that they'll accept it. They kind of understand. But with the normie brain out there in the Epstein files, some of the shit we're learning in these Epstein files that us anons, us hardcore researchers who understand that there's insane, depraved, disgusting, elite child trafficking, pedo-Satanism out there. Those of us understand this, but some normie brains out there, they'll go into their, stages of grief, denial first, and then, hopefully acceptance eventually, but some of them won't want to accept it. So it'll be tough for some people to get it, but with how many now, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people on the internet, on their accounts are talking about this, that repetition and that appeal to the group, since the whole group is talking about it now, normies will come on board. But lastly, that doomerism. So maybe I've touched on this one already, but friggin' some people on the internet, no matter what happens, they'll just be wanting to bitch about something. They'll just be complaining and, oh, it's not happening fast enough. I want this. I want this. It's like they need a freaking binky, so they bitch on the internet. Bitching on the internet is their little safety blanket. That's their binky they're sucking on. And then other people that are in that same, like, emotional instability, they coalesce around those doomer posts and they all just doom together, right? That's pretty much what's happening in some of those doomer black pill communities. They're all dooming together, posting and commenting on each other's posts and bitching and whining and complaining because that's their binky for each other. That's their little doomer circle jerk. So it will be funny. I will be interested to see their reaction when we do start getting some serious headway with justice, and we're all excited. And those of us who have kept the faith the entire time, we're like, hell yeah, it's finally beginning. I've been freaking telling you, I've never lost faith. Fuck you. I'll be interested to see their reaction. I'm sure you have a few folks that'll say, oh, I believed the whole time. I never lost faith. And some will just brush their old whiny complaining posts under the rug. Maybe they'll even delete some few, but I'll be interested to see. And we'll see who the honest ones are, who were like, oh, I genuinely never thought anything was going to happen. Never thought anything was going to happen, but it is. And I was wrong. I'm glad I'm wrong. Those ones will be the humble folks who get respect. Some of them will, they'll just want the engagement and say, oh, I had faith the whole time. But anyway, 3 movies all playing out right now. Big headway being made on each one over the last 48 to 72 hours. And pretty fascinating to see. And again, as I think this year continues, we will see, I give it 6 months towards some serious stuff happening. Within the next 6 months, we'll get some fireworks. And then next year, will be the big ones, I think. I could be wrong, but that is my conjecture. That is my theory. Thank you for watching.